Welcome back to the 2019 UAA Wrestling Championships inside Horsburgh Gymnasium in Cleveland, Ohio on the campus of Case Western Reserve University. I'm Andrew Luftglass alongside John Collier as we get set for our second of three dual meets. Chicago defeated NYU to start the morning and afternoon, and now we've got Case going up against the NYU Violets, the number 17 ranked team in the country. So as we wrap up our coverage of the first dual meet, maybe a little bit of a surprise that NYU was handled by Chicago, but they've got a lot of injuries
looking
today.
All week, pairing up to it, you kind of thought that would be, two teams where at the end of the day, the end of the match, you wouldn't think it was quite lopsided, but once you saw, the wrestlers that made the trip, from New York here to Cleveland, you kind of got a sense that, okay, they're a little undermanned, and it showed. All the guys competed hard, but I think NYU won 2 matches. Is it 1, 2? 1 match. Okay, yeah. That was the 41 pounder.
Evan Drill, the All-American.
Yeah, but 4 or 5 different weights, very competitive. So it was good. So this one, we have our Sparties, Case Western, here in Cleveland. Versus the Violets from NYU. So be interesting to see how this one pans out. I would expect a little more competitive, as far as the bouts and probably some strategies going on between both coaches with who they have on the roster. So it'll be fun to see. So
a rebuilding program for Case Western Reserve University. Danny Song just in his 4th year as the head coach of the Spartans. Of course, the other 2 men have been at their respective posts for over 20. Leo Coker for 40 at Chicago. We just spoke to him.
Yep.
Bruce Haberly for 24 at NYU. And so, Case obviously rebuilding the program a little bit, but they've made some significant strides in the last few years and now have a chance to really compete, like you said, against the top-ranked team.
Yeah, they've been a little outmanned the last 2 UAAs. At least I've been involved with them. This year you expect to have a good showing. I believe there's still 5 or 6 freshmen signed in by or weighed in by Danny Song. We'll see how this goes, and this is going to be one of the first freshmen starting out who actually is a New York guy, Aiden McCooley. So you had the captains meet at center. I'm not sure who had first choice. So.
Hey guys. 1 second.
So Aiden McCooley against Izaki Zuckerman.
Zaki Zuckerman, another freshman, right? We saw him in the first one. So.
Yep, Zuckerman got the victory in.
Yeah,
or excuse me, took the loss to Ben Saracen.
Yeah, Ben Saracen,
in the first
the Iowa
meet
kid,
of the day.
Right? Yeah, so.
A rare loss for Zuckerman, now 27-8 on the year for the freshman, and a pretty significant height difference too. McCooey at 6'1", Zuckerman at 5'8".
Yep. So, yeah, it's always interesting. You get a taller wrestler if you're there. It's a little different, maybe match strategy or style. I know Aiden competes hard. Getting used to that transfer from the high school routine, the high school competition and practice and academics to the collegiate level. And you definitely see an improvement throughout the year, and I think that's what most coaches want. Always want for these freshmen, right? So, I know Danny Song wants his guys to go out and compete hard, and then let the chips fall where they may. So. Isaac Zuckerman seems like he's already had some good collegiate success as a freshman as well. So we'll see.
And as you see, we're starting.
So Andrew, I have a question for you. A little break. I know you're new to the sport. I think your passion maybe surround around that other winter sport that guys can choose, hockey. So what's your thoughts?
Well, it's been a really exciting start to this meet, and obviously the storylines to me pull me in more so as a newcomer to the sport when you talk about 2 top-ranked teams in the country, one in NYU coming in with some guys out, whether due to injury or just being held back for the sake of regionals and nationals, and then the rebuilding program in Case. So what I've been most interested in is how both of these teams are able to set their lineups and, like you said, the game in the game, the match within the match as they kind of scrap and fight for points. Seeing a match like the Evan Drill match against Evan Drill against Chase Hawk earlier today was a lot of fun because you get to see one of the top guys in the country compete against a relatively unproven and young gun for Chicago and Chase Hawk. So it's been entertaining.
Yeah, and you saw that 57-pounder match, Bonsell versus the Dwyer kid. Bonsell, I think, is a All-American 2017, and you saw him, get after it. You saw the Dwyer, who transferred from Grand Valley State, pretty much take the lead in the last 30, 40 seconds, and Bonsell, quality wrestler, like you mentioned, nine match winning streak, hasn't lost 2 back-to-back quite some time. You see him coming on top, and that's why those of us that love the sport, you love to see that. So just 2 guys go out in the arena and they compete, and then you shake hands, you walk away, and if you're on the losing end, you go back and evaluate, and you're on the winning end, you're always still looking to improve. So I think we have a little bit of delay on here. I'm not sure what exactly is going on, but
I think they're trying to figure out the lineups.
Yeah, I see.
We know
Coach
McCooey
Bruce,
and
Coach
Zucker
Danny,
AD,
Athletic Director Amy Backus is over there, and I believe one of the NCAA officials. So.
Now, one of the things that you mentioned that's of particular interest to me is, as the clock ticks down in each period, getting to see the strategy as these guys kind of fight for the last few points of each stanza.
Yeah,
it's something that you talk about as a coach, as a longtime follower of the sport as well.
Yeah, I mean, you always, you want to try to score at the end of a period. You want to try to maintain, a lead if you're on the other end. I mean, take that momentum. It could be very demoralizing to the other your opponent when you're scoring, or you'll be able to carry that momentum to the next period. I mean, you always want to be scoring, but critical at the ends is often you see guys that can do that consistently tend to be at the top or on the podium consistently as well. So
as we get set,
got a couple people on camera. That's our assistant coach, Chaz Buzz. Indiana guy, wrestles there. I just give him a shout out. He's been doing it, and one of the junior, Jacob Frisch.
As we get set to see Case for the first time today, obviously your son, Isaac Collier, part of the Spartans. So I mean, how have you kind of seen
one of
this
those
program
crazy,
grow?
I guess,
Looks like we're ready to start our second dual meet today between Case Western Reserve University and New York University in the 2019 UAA Wrestling Championships. This is Izaki Zuckerman at 174 for the Violets, and Aiden McCooey, another freshman for Case Western Reserve University.
Right. So, yeah, Aiden's been battling. He's had some success. I mean, we saw Zuckerman in the first match. I think he looked pretty aggressive for a freshman. I think he was a little outgunned, though, by the University of Chicago wrestler. So Zuckerman gets that quick takedown and controlling the hip, controlling the legs. So we've kind of talked about this a little bit before in the first match, Andrew, is that you kind of know sometimes when you're going into a battle and your guy might be a little undergunned. So, but you're still trying to compete, for the team and not to give up back or bonus points. Here as Zuckerman goes with that deep bar and trying to turn McCooley, for a count, which he's going to start getting here. So, yeah, you want to, I mean, it looks pretty tight. So sometimes, no matter how much you fight, like I've said before, you got a decision to make: give up my shoulder or go over. So,
you talk about being undergunned, perhaps from McCooey. This will be a little bit of a test for him. He does have the strength or the reach advantage, at least at 6'1" over the 5'8" Zuckerman, but Zuckerman only with 8 losses on the year, 27-8, and McCooey at 3-11.
Yeah. So I believe Aiden's out in New York, Huntington, New York.
Out in Long Island.
Yeah, or Long Island. I think he's actually from Danny Song's hometown. So, and Zuckerman, I believe, is a New Jersey kid. So.
Out of Fairfield, Connecticut, actually.
Connecticut, okay. So.
Huntington, New York, by the way, the home of probably the biggest New York pizza debate, at least in New York and Long Island. They have a place out there where they sell the cold slice, and everybody outside of Huntington, New York thinks it's the most disgusting slice of pizza they've ever seen in their life, and everybody in Huntington swears by it. So that's what Aiden McCooey's perhaps perhaps.
Well, that's one good thing,
arguing
as
about
far
when he
as
goes
if you
back
travel, if you get to travel to these cities with the teams, and you got some good pizza choices, right? It's can often be called when them two wrestled the last match, NYU and U of Chicago, the pizza championship, right? Deep dish or New York style, right?
You don't want to get me started on that. I'm from New Jersey, so I have
oh, I know where
some
your loyalties
significant
lies for sure.
biases.
Yeah, so Aiden did a good job of fighting that off, not to give up the 6. You got to kind of weather the storm. And I've talked about that, and if you can weather this, first period, first 3.5 minutes. It's going to be a big moral victory, but also help with the team. So Aiden chooses neutral.
Zuckerman getting cleaned up a little bit here as well by the trainer.
Yeah, another thing in high school versus college, high school there is a blood clock that runs. I still believe it's 5 minutes, where in college it's pretty much unlimited unless the guy totally bleeds out.
Well, we had a pause for Zuckerman as well.
Yeah.
For blood in the first match of the day.
So there is Zuckerman just takes a shot, reshot, gets after it, and Aiden just exposes himself, exposes the legs a little too much, and if you're going to do that, you got to basically get back. You got to sprawl hard, pound the guy's head that's shooting on you, and control his forward movement. So Aiden needs to get his knees, hips under him. And if you don't move on the bottom, you're going to get a stalling call as referee Zeke Gunselli, right? Gunselli. That's a impressive name. So.
And McCooey, we talked to Danny Song earlier this week about how he's kind of going through some growing pains at his freshman year, trying to kind of grow into his body work and his coordination.
Yep, he gets his escape. Yeah, we tend to forget that these kids are still very young men, 18, 19-year-olds, coming in for the most part, and they're transitioning to that, again, that academic and that athletic, the athletic and academic change. So, take some times, and each of them progress at a different level. So, Aiden's fighting hard. I'm sure Danny likes to see this.
He's been the starter at 174 all year for the Spartans.
Yeah, most of the year, pretty much there. It was Cade Luker, I think 84, was battling some stuff. Won't be wrestling today. And Brian Kent, the other sophomore, we'll probably see come up next at 84. So, again, what you want to try to do if you're Aiden is, get a point, keep it within an 8-point decision for the team. And obviously, if you're Zuckerman, you want to basically get that pin, get that score, get that bonus points, especially in the first match of your team. So I believe there's still some discussion going on. I see Coach Bruce, Coach Danny, Case Western AD Academic, Amy Backus, yeah.
And our NCAA official there as well.
NCAA official, yeah. So
we still don't have...
Got a shot there of... Chaz Jones and Timmy Scrow, the assistant coaches for Case Western, so shout out.
Yeah, we still don't have everybody lined up for either school really in this dual meet. We have a pretty decent idea of who is going to wrestle at most weight classes, but there's still a few blanks out there as they try to figure out who exactly will be going out, including at the next weight class at 184, though it looks like we might have that sorted. Should be Brian Kent against Luke Ratchford. But that's tentative. Yeah. 184, 197. NYU still trying to figure out who they're going to send out.
So there you go. So, basically gave up the 4 near fall, I believe. So gets that awarded, and that's going to be a technical fall. So I think it's our first technical fall we saw of the afternoon. So a wrestler, beats his opponent by 15 points, takes them, and they'll stop the match as long as. The opponent isn't in danger of exposing and going to fall, and that's the difference between the team score. So NYU awarded 5 team points as opposed to a regular decision, which is 4, or a major decision winning by 8 points. A regular decision is 3, major decision 8 points, and then a fall is 6 points a team. So So unlike last match, NYU takes the early lead.
So Brian Kent for Case. Luke Ratchford will wrestle for NYU.
Yeah, so Brian's a sophomore. You know, he is definitely put together. I think he leads the weight room crew. You know, I mean, again, still showing, I think he's somewhere out of Western or Eastern PA, out of the Philly area. So, you know, chemical engineering student. So.
You talk about him being well put together and leading the weight room. Danny Song earlier this week said he's built like a Greek statue.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much there. So sometimes it's good. So there he goes. Get headlock, take it out, go. So you know there it is. So nice way for Brian to fight that off. So you know, good job by the NYU wrestler in order to try to get around and get that 2 points. So.
There's a lot of power in this.
So Brian's in on that nice single. There it is, nice. Let's see, he gets it. So it looks like, it looks like actually Ratchford's arm is caught in his singlet. The ref's got to stop that. I'm not sure. Wow, that was bizarre. I don't know if you saw that, Andrew. Ratchford's arm actually was inside of Brian Kent's singlet. And, you know, I would think the ref would stop that, but in all my years of wrestling, I don't know if I've ever seen that. It's
you would
crazy.
Think it would be a little bit more common.
Yeah. But it was a nice takedown. I mean, you know, he shot in on that leg, and he's going for the headlock again. So now Brian needs a drop to that leg, to lower his hips and drop the leg. You know, it's one of the transitions. You know, a guy goes upper body. You know, unless you're not comfortable there or really comfortable there, you want to go low, right? So now here it is with a minute left, 2-1. Brian Kent with the takedown, and then the escape by Ratchford. So.
For a big guy like Kent, as strong as he is, but not having the reach advantage that Ratchford does, what's the benefit in trying to go low?
Well, when you have a guy like that, you know, a tall guy like Ratchford, which, you know, it's kind of unusual that he's doing headlocks on a shorter guy. What Brian would need to do, and what you kind of want to do, is adjust and just lower, and so he goes right over top of you, right? So, you know, having muscles and being big is important in the sport of wrestling, but, you know, there is an old saying, you know, big muscles tire fast. So, you know, they basically, when you look at the physics of it, they use a lot more oxygen. So, you know, you got to have a gas tank as well if you're, you know, if you're put together like a Greek statue.
Well, and that's one of the things that Coach Song was saying this week too, is that he's a strong guy, big, muscular sophomore out of Eastern Pennsylvania, but he's trying to use that strength more effectively in the wrestling mat.
Yeah, and it's a process, you know, depending upon, you know, what type of program you come out of high school and what type of coaching and training, and that's one thing when you look across these rosters, you know, you see, you know, guys from very well-known, you know, good powerhouse high schools, but, you know, it's not a prolifera, you know, and you see, you know, a lot of the, you know, they might have been the best kid in their room for 2 or 3 years, and then they get to this level, you know, and when we had talked with Leo Coker earlier in the year, you know, it all seems to condense. I mean, there's, you know, a lot less opportunities for kids to wrestle in college and D3 there is than in high school for sure. So Ratchford chooses down, gets the quick escape, so tied up 2-2. Yeah, the joke is that Brian doesn't skip leg day. So, you know, now he's got to get his hips back. So, you know, that was a good case. Almost gave up that takedown, but Brian was able to get his hips back into him, get his legs back, get his hips into him, and put that pressure. So that right there is, I think, you know, the difference in the strength you could see. So between Ratchford and Kent. So
now they're trying to grapple for each other's legs.
Yeah. So you want to, you know, now if you're Luke Ratchford, what you want to do is you want to get your hips under, because that's where your power is. And if you're Brian Kent, you want to fight that elbow off and try to do it. Now, they haven't awarded the points yet because he's got to come up around the hip off the leg, and he's got his head trapped. You know, so there you go. See, so Ratchford, when he popped the head, then you cover the hips, then you're going to get the 2, which was a good call. So, so can again get back out. So, you know, 4-2. And the so sometimes you want to leave that shoelace untied, right? So, so he gets the escape. So, you know, everybody gets taken down, as we mentioned, but, you know, being able to get out is what's key. So Ratchford, tall guy, that's a good thing. You know, he's going for that slide by. So, Andrew, a slide by is you basically get to the side of your opponent, get behind, and then you take him to the mat. So it's kind of effective if you're a tall guy and a guy like Brian Kent is leaning into you a lot. So you use that momentum to get by them. So, and now here's Brian. He's got to hurry to get this takedown. 11 seconds. Well,
they won't give it to him.
Oh, and so he does it on the other side. And this is here. Now that's what you don't want to see. So 2 seconds left in the period. You know, he was in good position, and you know, this is part of match awareness. I think that you got to coach these younger guys, and I know Danny Song does. You consistently try to understand that, you know, where they are in the mat and where they are. I mean, so that's 6 points for NYU. Case gets that 6 points back by senior Gavin Fisher-Jers getting a forfeit. So
Gavin Fisher wins the forfeit at 197. And that was tough, though, for Brian Kent on what was a pretty well-fought
you know,
match.
It definitely, I mean, me as a commentator, and I'm sure most wrestlers would say that's a little frustrating because you had a very competitive match, and, you know, you're less than 10 seconds in the period. You know, Brian was aggressive. He had the shot. He's on there, and, you know, kudos to Rutherford because he basically, you know, got that pin and, you know, finished him off right at the end of the period. So he's still young. It's a learning process, and it gives the Violets 11 points, and then Case gets that back with the forfeit at 197 for senior Gavin Fresher out of Sacramento, or I mean, actually he's out of San Francisco, California.
So now the heavyweights, Brian McNamara for Case and Will Ortman for NYU.
Yep. Yeah, we watched Ortman last match. You know, he's a very tough competitor for UC. He battled in there. I think he was, you know, a little outweighed. And then here's the other senior for the Spartans, Brian McNamara, local, you know, Cleveland kid, Aurora High School. Played football for a couple of years here before he, you know, has just been wrestling here the last 2 or 3 years. So
he's trying to come back and win his second UAA heavyweight championship. Won one in 2016.
Nice little slide by Orton. See, it's exactly what I was talking about. Is that he was pressuring into him, and nice little. So good use there. The refs, I'm not sure they give him the 2 points. So they did not. Coach Danny Song is going to come. Well, they did. So I think Coach Danny Song's questioning back point. So good collaboration by the refs there to determine, you know, what the scoring situation was. So wait a minute, 2-2. Is that score right? 2-2. Okay.
Ortman for the second match in a row, by the way, a little bit outsized. So about a 40-pound difference in the.
So does that score
match
seem right? 2-2.
Yep,
How did Ortman
that's
score?
right.
Because they were both started neutral. This is the first period, right? So
it might have been by reversal.
Oh, did he give a 2 and 2 there? Is that what it was? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right, takedown and reversal. All right, so I apologize. My kind of blocked by the monitor here. So, yeah.
So Ortman went up against Patrick Mulcurin of Chicago in the first match. Like we said, about a 40-pound difference for Mulcurin, and now it's about a 20-pound difference in favor of Brian McNamara for Case. So Ortman has a little bit of ground to make up size-wise.
Yeah, and second match, you know, when you're Ortman, you kind of feel with him second match in a row. He's got, big guys, and you're carrying that weight for, 5-6 minutes. If you had any big brothers, they're Andrew, but they'd just sit on you and you'd be like, oh, get tired just laying there. So, and that's obviously what McNamara, Brian's, doing. He wants him to carry his weight, carry his weight, carry his weight. Tire a guy out, the bigger guy, then, he'd come in the, second, third period longer there and basically be able to, go for those bonus points, go for the scores. So it looks like Ortman has a knee brace on too, so he might be battling, which most of the guys probably are at this time of year, battling some type of minor injury. I know Big Mac, shoulder, elbow after every competition, so he's there. So
there are going to be very few who are at full 100% health at this point in the season.
Yeah. So I think Big Mac accumulated some riding time there. So Red, NYU's choice, choosing neutral. So he's adjusting that brace.
Will Ortman, a sophomore out of Hopewell Valley, New Jersey, former conference wrestler of the year as a high school senior.
So we'll see if Brian kind of make a match adjustment in here, Brian McNamara out of Case Western, because, basically it was a very nice slide by Ortman. If you saw that, he's pressuring in, and then he just does a little like, and that's what, if you're a big guy and you're outweighed, that's what you want to do. You don't want to shoot under guys that are bigger than you. You want to be, the quick, right? So it's kind of that, get around, get behind, type of deal. So, Brian's got to pay attention to that, adjust it, and go from there. So.
And one of the things that Danny Song said about Brian is that he's not only smart with the energy he's using, but his tactics as well.
So. Yeah, I've seen that with Brian over the years, as over the last couple of years, is basically, you might think there's not a lot of action when you look at some of these wrestlers and how they do it, or there's not a lot of thinking, but it actually is a very, very thinking man sport. You're trying to, the match within the match. It's a chess match. It's not checkers in wrestling, at least at this level. So I was always better at checkers. So wait a minute, there's a little stalling warning on green, which is a little bit surprising. Kind of circled out. So I believe that's a first stalling warning in this match. So, yeah, that's one thing though. Sometimes you can outthink yourself. I know the coaches, Danny and all these wrestling coaches talk about is that sometimes you can be too smart for your own good, and with these guys at all these schools, it's hard for them probably not to think. It's always in their DNA. So
Brian's going to start down.
Trying to see if we get Kevin riding time. So Brian immediately gets up right in that leg. So, it's still controlled by the top guy there. So you want to take him back to the mat or let go of that leg, Brian. Then you go get the 2. So that's great. Great job by Brian to get that reversal, take a 4-2 lead, continue to build on riding time. And so here again, you want to win, you want to secure the win, but you also want to make sure you're continuing to score for these bonus points. We saw it in the first 2 matches with NYU that were competed. They got a tech fall and a fall. So.
We have our 125s coming up next. Adam Cates for Case, Jonathan Keltz for NYU. 11-6 lead, a slim lead for the Violets after they lost to Chicago in the first of our 3 dual meets today. So
there's Brian, hanging on that hip. He's going to continue to, basically kind of free release. He gets it. So 4-3. I can't see the riding time, but I'm thinking Brian does have over accumulated minutes. So what you want to do is you still want to score here. You can't. Now Brian already has, McNamara already has a stalling call, so you got to keep that in mind. If he does not look like he's the aggressor or continues to push the pace, as we say, then the referee could easily award another point. So
Hey, you can't just run out the clock at this point,
Yeah,
especially in a one-point match.
Yep. There's no kneel downs, right? So not like football. So. So there it is. That's perfect. Look at it. So the hand fighting that occurred by Ratchford, and then to get to that leg. So you could see he was moving Brian off his pace, being aggressive, hand fighting, gets to that leg. Here with 18 seconds left is the guy who has the bigger gas tank sometimes in these matches usually wins. So stand up here and get a better view. So there it is again, right to that same single. He's going to come across and do it. So 7, 8 points. Let's see if he can fight it here. And he gives that takedown. So do we have? Yep. So Brian did have that point riding time. So it's important, even though he gave up that takedown, that 1 point riding time ends up tying up. So now it was our first overtime bout of the day here, Andrew.
First sudden victory of the day. It's really because Ortman came back and was strong on that leg attack.
So again, what I said is gas tank. He came in and, got that takedown at the buzzer and tied it up. So now, if someone scores in this period, and you got to keep in mind, McNamara does have a stalling call. So see if he gets one up. Yeah, we got a warning on the other end. So, and 1 point. So that was I missed that. So I missed the previous stalling call. So that was on red. So he's the aggressor. So McNamara pulls out a hard-fought battle to take the lead. So.
And Will Ortman now has had 2 really tough, hard-fought nip-and-tuck matches right now with Patrick Mulcurin and now with Brian McNamara.
Yeah, that's
been
a
long
senior.
day
Good
for
win
Will.
for that. Yeah, good win for McNamara. So got to get ready and rehydrate and go for the next one. Although I noticed Case Western did weigh in their freshman Grant Robertson. So let's see who Danny Song chooses to put out there. So 125 little guys go big to little. So.
So Jonathan Keltz we've seen today already for NYU.
And Adam Cates out of Needham, Mass. So a little fire plug, Adam Cates, watch him wrestle. Pelt's very, very technical. He looked very good. So there's Adam right in on that. Right on that. So injury time. So here's another situation we haven't done. So Adam's quick on that double or that head to crotch, gets that takedown, going for the cradle. Peltz looks like he has a wrist issue called injury time. So I don't know if we had this conversation in our previous. Is in the college level, Andrew, what happens now is Adam will get choice. So the wrestler who's
still healthy.
Yeah. So wrestler's still healthy. I was trying to find out. The wrestler's still healthy.
Way of saying that.
Yeah. That did not call injury timeout.
Sure.
He gets to decide what position he wants to start at. So, you never want to see any athlete get hurt. I mean, that's the number one goal of any competition. You see these guys come out healthy. So be interested to see what Coach Song and assistants coach Tim, Chaz, Chase over there, talk to Adam about. He's been attended by the trainer, so definitely looks like he's looks like cut out. And then I believe injury time in college is, how long is injury time there, Ref? 2 minutes in college? Minute 30? Okay, minute 30. So he chooses to say neutral. So there it is, Cates again, and you see why. He goes with that nice pick here, and then he's going for a fall, so it's got 6 points for sure. And then he wanted to settle in here, and get that nice half down. So it's tight. So now he has time. So this is the thing. You want to be judicious. You don't want to let him out of this position, but you don't want to, you don't want to get overexcited where you're going to get the guy out of the position. Now this looks tight. There it is. So Adam Cates, the freshman out of Needham, Mass, with a nice big pin for your Case Western Sparties. So that should actually put him in the lead. So.
And boy, was he so quick. Danny Song was talking about how he keeps a high pace. He's really physical. That was a frantic takedown.
Yeah. So, and that's where I think any coach watching Adam, if there's mistakes he makes over the season, it's been mistakes by aggression. And any coach will tell you they'll take that over anything else. So, so that's a good point. I think the first contested bonus point win for the Spartans. So
that will put them on top as we get
we
ready
have,
for our 133s.
Yeah, Alec Hoover, one of the senior for Case Western, one of the juniors, but one of the captains of the team here. So
Case now up 15-11.
15-11. Do you catch who's out there?
Alexander? Zach Alexander.
Zach Alexander. We saw him in the first match. So there's Alec. He's got that nice front headlock, got it nice and deep. Now he's got to clear that elbow and try to get around and get that too, which he pops out the other side. He does. So, and then he lets him go. So, nope, still control because of that front headlock. So now he's going for that cradle. He's trying to get that leg. So no change in control. So Alec does get the 2 takedown.
This was one of the potential decisions that Danny Song had earlier in the week. He wasn't sure if he was going to wrestle Alec Hoover or Jacob Frisch at 133. And Hoover could have wrestled at 141. That would have kind of knocked everybody down, or rather up one spot. But Hoover is wrestling at what really is his more comfortable spot at 133.
Yeah, so Alec, I believe he leads the team in victories this year. Basically, right up there is placed in, I believe, every tournament we went into this year, other than the Pete Wilson, which he did make it to the second day and lost in what we call the blood round. So the blood round isn't where they draw blood in this round, Andrew. The blood round in a wrestling tournament is, if you win that blood round, that means that you basically will place in the top 8. So I know you knew that. I mean, unlike hockey, I think it's blood time, right?
Yeah. Unofficially.
Unofficially.
That's the whole sport, is blood time.
Right. So so there's Alec working his bars on top, so forth, and Alex out of Spokane, Washington, twin brother. You might see you later. Might think you're seeing double. It'll be the 140.
141. He'll be up next.
Yeah. So
that'll be an interesting one against Evan Drill, the All-American.
Right.
Alec coming off a loss against Jackson Lasco.
Yeah, Jackson Lasco, Otterbein kid, so Ohio kid. Tough match. That was the blood round for him and Gavin Dershford, 97-pounder, were the 2 Case wrestlers that made it to that blood round out at the tough Pete Wilson, which we've mentioned several times in this broadcast. So
we've got a stalling call on Alexander as we tick down in the first period.
Yeah, 4-0. He's probably got some riding time on top of that. So this NYU team, it's I don't know if you're going to get a chance to talk to Coach Bruce at the break here, kind of get an idea there, Andrew. What's the, where the guys are that maybe full strength, what they would be, and see where they are. So there it is. So that's awesome. That's why you got to always be on guard. Alexander, nice double leg shot right under Alec Hoover. Quick takedown. Yeah, and there's Alec Hoover getting the escape, and he wants to get inside. So now this is where the Hoovers had their most. Alec and Rue Hoover, Andrew, we call him Rue Hoover, have had the most high school success. They were Greco-Roman champs in the state of Washington and upper body, and they've kind of over the last couple of years you've seen them continue to build on that, but also get to more of the folk style stuff and in the Midwest popular. But getting back to NYU, I'd be a little bit remiss if during this match we didn't mention one of the Cleveland connections, Nick Sulzer, who's a coach, assistant coach, St. Ed's guy, AAU, All-American, 3-time All-American at the University of Virginia. Did not make the trip, but you could ask Coach Bergeron. I talked to him a little bit. So there's Alec with a nice little tilt to score more points, deep waist, get him, get your opponent's hips get your hips under your opponent's hips, and then tip it up for a quick 2 points. So.
You talked about the different styles, by the way, the different regional styles. How did that kind of come to be that, say, in the Midwest, there's one particular type of style, out in the Pacific Northwest another?
I guess that's probably a misstatement. It's not so much Midwest. It's that basically the really three styles of wrestling. The freestyle wrestling and Greco-Roman, which are the style that you see in the Olympics. So that's popular, most popular throughout the world when you talk about freestyle and Greco-Roman. And then you have what we call folk style, which is here. So I would say that all of them are popular throughout the country. I just know the Hoovers, they were more Greco guys, as we call them, than folk style or freestyle guys. So. And the difference, we didn't really have this conversation. Yeah. So.
It's only wrestled in the U.S.
Right, only wrestled in the U.S. So as Ref Gonzalez comes in and is listening and give you hair. And
Steve Gonzalez sitting right next to the scorer's table.
The difference, Andrew, for the novice is in Greco. So if you're a Greco wrestling match, you cannot touch the other guy's legs. So that's where the upper body expertise comes into play. So there's a lot of, if you like to see a lot of guys' feet leave the mat, and meaning literally we say go for a fly, go watch a Greco-Roman match. It's a lot of that. So you can see Alec. Alec, I've known these kids for 3 years. They still can't.
Easy to get them
apart.
confused still.
So, Alec had a nice little front headlock, comes to the side, gets that arm or gets that leg, and he goes by for 2. So he's up 12-2. So right now, he would have the major decision if he continues to win. But I mean, again, that's why it's always dangerous. You always want to keep up the pressure. You saw Alexander on that last match or in that last period take that kid down. Nice shot, boom, in on it, done with it. So there it is, another tilt. He gets 4 more points here, and it should lock up the technical fall for Alec Hoover.
So Alec Hoover.
Yeah, I believe he's a returning UA All-American from last year too. So Alec, a nice win. So
Hoover last year finished 5th in the regionals.
Yeah. So
at the 133-pound weight class. Now his twin brother will wrestle next.
So this is the change.
Apparently not. Andrew Hoover was going to wrestle.
This is the other 33-pounder. So this is Jacob Frisch. Jacob Frisch, Alec Hoover, Jacob Frisch have been battling all year at that 133 pounds. So Danny Song chooses to move Jacob up to the 141 to wrestle the All-American and ranked wrestler Evan Drill. So you're going to see here, there's a little bit of a size difference. But it should be a little interesting to see how Jacob handles this. Both New Jersey kids, I believe. I know Jacob's out of New Jersey and Evan's out of New Jersey. So is that right there, quick, right to that leg, and he gets that, and he has that. Evan Drill has that wizard. So again, a little more strength, a little more bigger. It's kind of tough. He's continuing to put pressure on that shoulder and keep that guy forward. So you can't do it. Imagine a stalemate's coming up here. If you're looking at Jacob, needs to try to shelf that ankle, come down on it, and give it a stalemate. So yeah, I saw Jacob's parents in the stands before the match, and it was interesting to see if they ever did compete in the state of New Jersey. And no, I don't believe they did in high school at least. So Jacob very quick. You see there.
Drill trying to figure out how to get in there.
Yeah.
Drill was the only NYU Violet to win his match against Chicago in our first dual meet.
Yeah, and you want to do exactly that. You're going to see adjust their wrestler, so Drill a nice reshot, but Jacob with his legs back, and gets out of there. So
it's interesting. We're seeing Frisch and Alec Hoover back to back, as Danny Song was saying. They are pretty much polar opposites in terms of style.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of interesting to watch them. I mean, Jake's very explosive, as you kind of seen already here. And that's, that definitely is, if you can control that explosion and get to your shots, it's tough to beat. Alec, on the other hand, very methodical, very, controlling as far as match. I mean, and that's this whole sport, so there you go. That's a nice dump by Drill, that tight shoulder, and he's got that arm trap, so he's gonna put it back here. So yeah, I mean, there's another saying in wrestling: if you want your opponent to wrestle your match, right? You want your opponent to wrestle your match, much like every other sport, I imagine. But so if you're a methodical guy and you might win all your matches, like NCAA champ Dean Heil out of Oklahoma State. I mean, he never, I shouldn't say never. He very rarely won by majors or techs, but almost impossible to score on. He'd win those 3, 4, 5, 6, matches all the time. So.
Frisch was just trying to crawl away from Drill as much as he could. Now Drill's got him in his talons.
His talons. That's a good one. Yeah. So that's it's called a tilt. So he did a rollover tilt. You're going to basically expose the opponent's back at 45 degrees and do it. So.
We saw this a little bit from Drill against Chase
the
Houck in the first match too.
So and there's the claw. That is a claw, or barnacle claw, as my 6-year-old nephew likes to call it. SpongeBob.
Talons,
reference.
claws, barnacles.
Yeah. So Jacob's able to kind of hang out there and be able to avoid it. So Coach Danny Song is wrestling with, so 10-0. Sure.
Give him a near fall at the end of that period.
Yeah.
I think we saw this a little bit from Drill in his match against Chase Houck for Chicago, where it took him maybe about half of the first period, maybe part of the second before he got control. But once he grasped him, it was his match.
A couple things, right? You look at Drill, and obviously in this match he's outside. You got a traditional 41-pounder wrestling a traditional 31-pounder or 33-pounder, right? So. Not only that, for Frisch, basically, he's not only that, he's a returning All-American, and he's basically a ranked high. Not only that, is he's already had 2.5 hours to rehydrate, right? So, I think, one of the things that you look at, probably Drill in that first match, not that the UC competitor was not, you got to give him credit. He was very tough, he was competitive, but he basically probably is, kind of still rehydrating after an hour weigh-in, So if you're Frisch, not only do you catch probably one of the best kids here today, you catch him after he had a time to warm up and he got some more water into him, so.
He had a break, he was able to get loose.
Yeah, and, he kind of looks like he came out with a little bit of an attitude that, that first match he didn't necessarily, get what he wanted to. I think he just won by a regular decision, so.
And Frisch, crawling around like a tarantula, had to add to Drill's motivation to try to get him, grapple him, and finish this thing.
So, so you gotta give Jacob Collier, you gotta give credit. You gotta go out there and compete. It doesn't matter who's across as long as you compete. And I know that Danny Song's doing it right. And obviously, there you go. He's a nice power half. So yeah. So now you know why he's an AA, and now you know why he's ranked. So
number 10 at the 141 weight class, and give Jacob Frisch credit again, fighting higher up than he's used to. He's usually a 133 and wrestling at 141 today.
So that's called taking one for the team. That's basically you do it, you go out there. I'm sure it's not ideal that Jacob wanted to be there, but hey, he competed, and it looks like he came out healthy, so that's the key. So now here, if you're seeing double, this is Andrew Hoover. Actually, we call him Rue. Traditionally, the 141, up now at 149.
So we thought that Andrew was going to be wrestling at 141, and a late change. So now Rue taking over for Kevin Barton, who was originally going to wrestle at 149. They just flip him.
Yeah, Brandon Barton.
Brandon Barton.
Freshman out of Longmead, Colorado. So there's Rue Hoover, or Andrew Hoover. Nice little go behind to that leg. So, and this is can't remember the NYU wrestler again. What was his name?
Will be Schulman. Who's wrestling?
Right.
Seth Schulman.
Yeah, he wrestled in the first bout against UC. So.
Took a loss against Alec Gleason, a 9-3 decision.
Yeah. So here's Andrew working top.
Rue won his last match on Saturday by fall at 108 against Alex Smith of Defiance.
Yeah, so twin brothers, you see it. If you ever get a chance, maybe in one of these breaks, if you are going to talk to Danny Song, he's got a pretty nice story about how he recruited him. I think he was going after Alex, you know, basically calling out to Washington State. John and Chris Hoover have some roots here in Northeast Ohio. After he got off the phone with Alex, he had said, Alec, he said, do you want to talk to my brother? He says, you have a brother? Like, oh yeah, twin brother. So kind of one of those 2-for-1 dealers, and you know, it's everyone in the wrestling community knows if you have a twin, you have a built-in drill partner. So, and that's what you can see. Their styles very similar. So,
one of the things that Danny said about Rue is he has a great headlock.
He does. I've seen that. Yeah, you've seen that. You know, and he's gotten very, very good at setting it up. So, you know, it's when you watch him, you know, you can see, you know, consistently coming out from that standpoint. So now he's going to do this arm bar. So he's got it in there. So you kind of want to continue to fight. So you got a warning there, stalling. I think it's the first one for Saracen. So there it is, a nice little tilt. Get it there. Nice little deep waist tilt. You call them, you know, easy, cheap points if you could get those.
Come on, Seth, let's go. Your back.
So again, nice one. Now, see, difference here is this time he's elevating it and he's able to lock that wrist up to keep control longer. So that's a 4 count. So back to back 2 and then a 4 count. So Rue takes a 8-0 lead into the third. Oh, into the second, I'm sorry. Hey, we got the Sparty mascot over there. So there, yeah.
Hanging out, taking it in.
Yeah.
2019 UAA Wrestling Championships. This is Case against NYU. Seth Shulman for the Violets. Andrew Hoover for the Spartans.
So Andrew's a junior. I think Seth's a freshman, right? So, yeah. So there's a nice shot. Now Shulman has to continue to try. And there it is. Look at almost through his hips, and you almost saw that, Andrew, as far as he was ready to get, you know, to basically use that headlock. So
there's a good look at Danny Song in his 4th year as the head coach for Case Western Reserve.
There it is. See, set it up nice, right there into that headlock. It looks there, he gets a fall. So you called it. You sure you haven't been following the sport for a while?
Well, that was a devastating headlock.
Well, yeah, I mean, you saw how he set that up. You know, the guy shoots in, gets down there a little low, and so forth. So then you continue to do it. So
that's back-to-back falls for Case.
Yep, back-to-back. So that's
26-17 for the Spartans. So now Jack Chips for Case at 157 against Dylan Dwyer for the Violets.
Yeah, so Jack Chips is one of these, I think, of 13 freshmen that Danny Song has coming in this year. So great group of guys, hard workers. I wouldn't say any of them are, you know, acclaimed high school careers, although Jack, I think, was a several times Maryland State placer. And, you know, me being a fan of the sport, me being obviously a fan of Case Wrestling, it's great to see, you know, how this improvement has come in through the year for some of these freshmen, and Jack's being one of them now. He's up against this Dwyer, who's a junior transfer out of D2 from Michigan. Plymouth, Michigan has a, you know, pretty well-respected wrestling program. So, yeah. So I mean, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but it's just fun to watch. So Jack's got some. He's got to get, you know, a quick takedown there for Dwyer, and, you know, Jack's got to get his hips under him, get those legs out, double legs.
You mentioned how much Jack has come along. He just broke a 5-match losing streak with back-to-back wins by fall on Saturday.
Yeah, and I know it's got to be a huge confidence booster there. I mean, some quality components or quality opponents last Friday. So, you could see that Dwyer's, being patient enough. He's got that deep power half. He's got the legs in. Trying to leverage that, to use that to go for that, go for some more go for back points. He hasn't got an award in yet. So, and Jack's doing a good job of just fighting it off, doing what you need to do to not give up points.
This is the 157 weight class. Chips was wrestling at 149 earlier this year. Started wrestling at 157 at the start of the turn of the calendar in January.
Yeah, he had a little shoulder issue right at the end of the first, right at the start of the season during Christmas break, but he healed up. Got a little twing.
How impressive is it for him to not only improve in his wrestling acumen, but to do it while moving up a weight class?
Well, one thing about the weight classes is there's two things. There's one where you can certify at a weight. So, on the bout sheet, or at least their initial roster, a lot of times they're able to certify at a lower rate than they traditionally wrestle. But I believe Jack wrestled pretty much most of the year at 157. So, although meaning he might have been able to get down to 149. But yeah, it's one of the things is it's tough to put on weight during wrestling season. You can imagine, right? Number one is you got to make weight, but two is you're burning so many calories in there. And the challenge they also have is not to lose strength. So, a lot of these guys work out consistently all year long, but during the season, when you're tired and you're hurt and you don't want to go, lift for 45 minutes after you wrestled for 2.5 hours or, an hour and a half in practice, you got to study. It could take its toll, right? So, that's the other challenge I think that that the freshmen coming in have, compared to the collegiate wrestlers. You can look right there, just in Dwyer, a little bigger, a little stronger. So his next match, can you ask Patrick?
This is an important match for Dylan Dwyer of NYU, with the Violets down 26-17. The very next weight class between Isaac Collier and Cade Loney will be the last in this dual meet. And this is a nip and tuck tight one.
Yeah, so, regardless of the outcome of this match, it's going to come down to the last match, 165. So, the winner of that bout will most likely determine the outcome of this. So,
and NYU losing to Chicago in the first dual meet is important to remember, because if NYU is then able to take this second dual meet, then a potential case win in the third would lead us to a tiebreaker, and then Chicago's win would seal it. Regardless, a Chicago win next dual meet between Case and the Maroons will seal it for Chicago for the second year in a row.
Yeah.
But NYU has a chance to at least set up the potential for a tiebreaker if they're able to come back and win.
So there's a nice rule by Jack to throw through.
Boy, and Dwyer has had two really hard-fought bouts. He was up against Steve Bonsall for Chicago in the first. And that was a 2-point decision, 5-3 for Bonsall, and now he's up by 4 against Jack Chips for Case.
And this is exactly what Danny Song loves to see out of this freshman. He's just battling. Dwyer, there's no doubt that in his mind, he knows he needs to get bonuses, and ideally to get the fall, right, for his team to have a chance to, come back and win this meet. So, and you could tell what he's doing. He's constantly trying to go for a big move to get some points, to get it there. And so, so a nice way to fight off. No points at the end of the match. So Jack Chips, Case Western down 6-2. So Green chooses neutral. Might have been a little bit of a hometown call, but. So they're right on that leg. This is the thing about Jack Chips, is he has a beautiful single, and it is a matter of getting to that and then learning to finish. So there it is. He's trying to hit. You can see Dwyer's trying to get that that fall, get that 2 points. Yeah. He's going for that headlock. You can see he's actually going for the headlock. So there.
It's a big period for Jack.
It
if
is
he
a
can
big
keep
period.
this.
Yeah, you can keep this within a regular or even a major decision. That's going to be a big win for the freshman, and I think he realized it. Jack's a smart kid, smart wrestler. And Dwyer, you can see he's going out front. He's trying to do this roll through, this headlock, basically a gator roll, as we call it in the business. Jack, so he gave up a point. So you got to do it. You never get to see this. Nice. No control. So.
NYU by 7 in this one with Chips down against Dwyer. If Chips can keep it under 8, then it would force NYU to get a 6-point win to tie in the last weight class.
Yeah. So there it is. So Chips is he's going to kick him out for the release to go second. So this is a bad mistake by Jack. You got to get low. He's got to get low. He's got to get out of that top there. So, you don't want to go upper body if you're just trying to avoid, any more points given by Chips. So, it's going to be dangerous because that's where you can get that 6-point or that fall. So here we go. So another stalling point. All right. So you got 30 seconds. You're down by 7 plus riding time is probably so. Yeah.
And that's a very crucial point for NYU. If they get that point by riding time.
Well, he's got the takedown there, so that's a major.
That changes the math quite a bit for NYU. Then they would win with a 6-point victory in the Collier-Loney match.
So, even though it looked like Jack was outgunned, that's a huge victory for Case Western as far as his ability to manage that and keep that from more points from that standpoint. So here's a 165-pound match. I might do a little less radio talk this match. I have some vested interest in here, so I apologize to all you NYU fans. But
Isaac
I'm sure
Collier,
any of the
John's son, of course, wrestling for
any of the dads, moms, wrestling parents out there totally understand watching their blood, compete. So.
So now a technical fall or any 6-point victory wins it for NYU as Isaac Collier for Case wrestles against Cade Loney for the Violets.
Obviously a size difference there. Cade Loney pretty tall.
Loney at 6 feet tall.
Collier 5'11", 5'10" more like it.
You're giving him an extra inch. He's listed at 5'9". Was that
5'9",
is that generous
probably,
on your part, or is that
probably 5'9"? You're right.
Did somebody miscalculate?
If that's Cade Loney.
And we'll get an injury timeout, it looks like. Collier, as you know, of course, the junior, 22-10 on the year. Cade Loney with the loss last time makes him 17-11 on the season. Took the loss to Callan Lee Lerner by major decision. 5-point difference between Case and NYU, our second dual meet of this UAA championship. NYU lost 36-3 to Chicago in the first meet, and it'll be it'll be Chicago against Case in our final dual meet of this championship. If Chicago wins the next meet, no matter what, they are UAA champions a second year running. But an NYU win here would make it very, very interesting.
You want to move your guy, you want to get to your shots. Like I said, control your match. So, it's when you have a tall guy like this, you don't see very often. So, it's definitely tactics come into play, and they can be very dangerous in there. So.
Loney will have to watch out for Isaac's single leg. Danny Song says it's one of the best in the country.
Don't tell him
out
that.
of St. Edward.
Don't tell him that. He's gone after it several times. Minute 20 in, there's still several attacks and leg attacks halted. And going in there.
And dead silent at Horsburgh Gymnasium. Everybody knows how
they
important
know
this
how
match is.
right? So long guys like that ankle pick. So Choicey's been on that ankle. Can't seem to corral it in. Collier. I'm going for that Russian.
There he is, trying to go for that single leg again. Is there the potential that he's just faking toward that single leg to get Loney to
Yeah,
fight?
you want to set it up. You know, you're trying to set up both sides. You know, you're trying to do it. You know, it could be, you know, like I said, you know, you're trying to. It's the whole match. It's just not the first period. You know, it's the all 7 minutes. You know, trying to do it. So, Cade Leone's been good at getting those legs back. So it's tough to get their legs, which again is you know, for a tall guy, it's sometimes there. So you got 9 seconds here.
Case leading this dual meet by 5. And in the last weight class of this meet, they are dead even and scoreless after period number 1.
So Collier defers, and Cade Leone takes down. So.
Oh, that's tough because Isaac's best position, at least according to Danny Song, is the up position.
Yeah, he definitely has some ability from a strength standpoint to score some points on top. But a tall guy like this, he can easily get through rolls or get through there. So you're going to have to break those hips down, bring them forward, control it, pull across. Yeah. I'm going to do that. So knee slide. So there you go. You take him back to the mat. And take him there. And so he might get this hip down. Oh. So he's going to look for the call. He's building up some. So there you go. Jump to the side. So he's got that half. So there you go. So it is. He gets calls points. So he's got to look for a stick. So he slide. And he gets the fall. So you called it, Andrew. And actually laid it. So take that. So that gives Case the victory. My joke to him when they pulled weights today is I'm going to start calling him Anchorman because last week at the duel here, they started at 174 as well. So it's good to see you come out with victory. Proud dad, so appreciate everybody's understanding of that match.
Well, he did exactly what Case needed him to do. NYU needed to get a 5 or a 6 point win in order to tie or become victorious in that second dual meet, and Isaac Collier able to defeat Cade Loney by fall to give Case the win, and a narrow win at that 32-21.